It's food parcel distribution day in Saida in the south of Lebanon. Local NGOs have joined together to coordinate the humanitarian aid provided to refugees fleeing from neighbouring Syria. It's estimated that Lebanon alone hosts more than half of the 2.5 million Syrian refugees who escaped the conflict since 2011.
The situation is getting more and more difficult for us because the numbers of refugees are increasing in huge numbers. In this city, Saida, Saidonians people try also to help these refugees by giving them clothes, by giving them a house. They try their best, but the problem it's become bigger and bigger every day.
For Ali and his children, these parcels are vital. They're part of the thousands of Palestinian Syrian refugees who've come to Lebanon, whose situation is more than precarious. After handing out temporary residence permits, Lebanon closed its borders to them in late August. Ali arrived 7 months ago. His permit is no longer valid and his presence is now illegal. He found refuge in the Palestinian refugee camp of Ain El Heloue in Saida, the biggest in Lebanon. Born in this country, he left at the age of 3 when his family fled the Israeli military intervention in 1982. He spent his life in the Yarmouk refugee camp in Syria before being forced to flee again with his wife and children. Their identity isn't recognized here.
The problem is I have to register my children in Lebanon as Lebanese Palestinians. Every time I show my documents, they tell me they're not valid because they must be certified by the Foreign Ministry in Syria. I went back several times, I tried everything, and then I sent my wife to Syria to get some new birth certificates for my children. But nobody can access the administration services there, and now my wife has been stuck in Syria for a month because they're no longer letting Palestinians through at the Lebanese border. I came to this camp. I went from one displacement to another, from one refugee camp to another refugee camp. What can I tell you? I go from misery to misery. It's escape after escape.
Without a residence permit, Ali is not entitled to help from the UNRWA, the UN agency which provides help to Palestinian refugees. Forced to look after his children, he lost his job. He sold all his belongings in order to buy food and clothes for them and lives off occasional charity.
I love them and I really worry for them. They're the most precious thing I have. That's why I endure all this. I love them more than anything in the world. But loving them, that's just not enough.
The arrival of the Palestinian Syrians has stretched the population of Lebanon's Palestinian refugee camps to the limit. The inhabitants are supportive, but tensions do arise. The divide between partisans and opponents of Bashar al-Assad's regime is spreading in Lebanese society, and incidents are multiplying. We head to Beirut. In the capital, the massive presence of the Syrian refugees is on everyone's mind. Concern is rising as to the impact on the country's economy and its stability.
It's really very tragic, and we are witnessing more and more problems, security problems. There is some sort of nationalist, racist feeling growing, especially in the areas where the Lebanese people are poor, and they are not finding jobs, and they see the Syrians taking their jobs. This issue should be handled with more care, and especially the numbers. The numbers are not acceptable.
From an economic point of view, Syrians who come to Lebanon take Lebanese people's jobs. They work in every field at any price, and the state doesn't have any control. They have to control this. They should put them in refugee camps where they aren't allowed to go out from, give them food, and that's it.
I see Syrian people are sleeping on the floors. and it makes me very sad. It's enough, it's enough, it's enough. Poor people, they have to help them. But not in Lebanon, we cannot support so many people, but really they have to do something. Make peace in their country to get back there.
To return home, it's also what the Syrian refugees we meet long for. They do find odd jobs for low wages, like in these fields in the west of the Bekaa Valley. A necessary complement to the humanitarian aid provided to those who are registered with the UNHCR, of which the EU is the main funder in Lebanon. Aside from food and basic goods, NGOs try to improve the sanitary conditions of the refugees and to consolidate their fragile dwellings, or to provide educational support to children. But the funds involved are far from enough to cover their needs. For these children who came here 2 years ago with part of their families, this is not the issue.
Our dream is to go back to our homeland. This country isn't ours. We want to go back to our land and live in our homes. We want to go back to our schools to learn there. Syria is our pride, it's our dignity, it's all we have. Our dream is to tread our country's earth again. And may God make our dreams come true.
In the meantime, the UNHCR has reduced its assistance program to Syrian refugees for lack of funds. Those considered less vulnerable no longer receive food aid. They can, however, appeal.
The ones that really need the assistance are sending us appeals, and outreach workers are conducting field visits and visiting these people to make sure, to ensure that the people who are really in need aren't excluded from assistance.
It's little comfort to those concerned. We ask the camp's representative what's expected here from the international community, whether the Western or the Arab world.
We can't take it anymore. We're fed up. People are exhausted. Our morale is shattered to pieces. So many young people died in Syria. What hope is there? My brother is dead. What else? Will he come back? Will foreign countries bring him back to me? Enough. It's over. What's left for me to hope for? We can only wait and see what God will do. If the world doesn't move, what can I expect? That's it. The youths have gone, our best youth, and they keep on dying. What can we hope for? After all that's happened, will they move? They're sleeping. Let them sleep. And they shouldn't bother waking up. It's enough.